Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we're going to explore what the glitch really is. Among the most unsettling and disturbing corners of the vast universe of modern animation, in that strange space where digital errors stop being simple malfunctions and instead become true nightmares, a figure emerges that has captured the attention and obsession of thousands of fans online: the glitch. And it's important to make this clear from the very beginning. This is not an ordinary bug, not a fleeting screen distortion, nor an error that can be fixed by simply restarting the computer. No, what we are witnessing is a creature, a living, conscious error, an entity that manifests as though the very code holding the animated world together had taken on a life of its own. All of this unfolds within a chilling Adult Swim short film titled Come and Learn with Pibby, a piece that, since its release, has been etched into the collective memory as an anomaly impossible to forget. What's curious is how this project appeared almost out of nowhere, first published on YouTube as an experimental trailer on October 30th, 2021. From that day on, people speculated about the possibility of it becoming a full animated series. However, as time passed, the silence surrounding it only made the whole thing more mysterious. To this day, no one knows if there will ever be new episodes, or if this short will remain as nothing more than an isolated relic, a cursed fragment in the history of contemporary television. The premise throws us headfirst into a strange and desperate journey. Three animated characters decide to abandon their original universes, meaning their own shows and source cartoons, because a dark force has begun to devour everything around them. With no home to return to, no real options to escape, and with fear growing like an unrelenting echo, they have no choice but to join forces to face the impossible. A threat that not only destroys worlds, but also corrupts and consumes them down to the very last corner. This is where the narrative takes on a fascinating, and at the same time, profoundly terrifying dimension. Because the glitch doesn't just wipe out settings or erase screen colors. It infects. It acts like a digital plague, a virus with echoes of a zombie apocalypse, capable of corrupting characters we once knew and loved. Cartoon Network icons, pulled from shows that were in many cases long forgotten or canceled, return from their animated graves, but they do so deformed, monstrous, twisted into grotesque shadows of what they once were. This premise, simple on the surface, has been interpreted by many as a disturbing metaphor, animation as a living body that can be parasitized and destroyed from within. The video, more than telling a traditional story, breaks down each of its scenes step by step, inviting viewers to dive into multiple interpretations. The big question hangs in the air like a specter. What exactly is the glitch? A programming error that somehow came alive? A parasitic entity lurking in the codes of different shows? Or perhaps something darker, an allegory embodying forgetfulness, the cancellation of series, the death of fictional worlds that once made us happy? The narration begins deceptively, with a light-hearted and innocent tone. Pibby, the protagonist, sings alongside Bombin, a sweet-eyed white rabbit, about how wonderful it is to learn, spell words, and share games in a world full of bright colors. The opening sequence feels like it came straight out of a 1990s children's show: catchy songs, adorable characters, and an atmosphere of absolute joy. But this calm, like all calm in a horror story, shatters abruptly. First, a faint tremor. The stage shakes, and with it, the illusion of safety. Then comes the sound, a crackling electric noise, a dark interference that spreads like a sea of black static. That chaotic figure advancing is not mere distortion. It is the glitch, dark, ever-shifting, as if disintegrating and reforming every second. It forces its way forward, devouring everything in its path. Pibby runs with Bombin, trying to save him, finding shelter in an improvised cabin. But the other animals are left behind, abandoned to their fate. The terror grows more intimate when Bombin, voice trembling, admits that he's afraid. Pibby hugs him, promising she'll protect him. For a moment, it seems tenderness might be a shield, but the illusion doesn't last. The glitch tears through the very walls of reality, rips the rabbit from Pibby's arms, and devours him in an act of indescribable cruelty. Pibby screams, clings on, but cannot stop the inevitable. Horror reveals itself in its rawest form. A childlike character consumed right before our eyes. When it seems that Pibby will meet the same fate, the screen suddenly cuts off. Abrupt credits, as if the only way to contain the glitch was to terminate the program entirely. Yet the disturbance continues. The Cartoon Network logo flickers onto the screen, warped and broken, as though the entire channel itself is being swallowed by the anomaly. From there, the journey only grows more macabre. Pibby crosses into other animated universes. She talks with superheroes, encounters Fred Flintstone, who at first seems friendly, until the scene twists. In a grotesque turn, Fred begins digging frantically, trying to escape something invisible, only to be mercilessly devoured by the glitch. That image unleashes the true apocalypse. Entire series collapsing one after another. The Flintstones, Dexter's Laboratory, the Powerpuff Girls, Adventure Time, Looney Tunes, all fall under the same curse. The horror escalates when Pibby's own body begins to change. She loses an eye, starts to bleed, and the innocence of her character shatters in an instant. She stares at the blood on her hands, confused, unable to grasp what it means in a world that had never known anything so real, so physical. Amidst the chaos, the focus shifts to Adventure Time. But Finn and Jake are not the heroes we remember. They are grotesque, zombified monsters, corrupted by the glitch, now hunters of new victims. They chase after Pibby and the few remaining companions, a feline-looking woman, and a supposed hero who confesses he was never truly one. "We were never heroes," they admit. "I was only an assistant. She was a villain." And yet, in the darkness, they stumble upon an absurd spark, the power of love. Pibby, armed with a rabbit bearing a heart on its chest, brandishes it as if it were a magical weapon. The scene shifts into an epic and surreal montage. She rips off her braids as symbols of resistance, wields an improvised sword, and her companions arm themselves as well, ready to confront the glitch. The climax comes drenched in despair. The glitch surrounds them. Pibby's opening song returns, but now distorted, slowed down, twisted into a nightmarish hymn. What once was a cheerful tune about learning and playing now resounds as a funereal chorus, an inescapable echo of destruction. The children's melody transforms into the roar of the end. At a crucial point in the short film, one of the most disturbing and memorable sequences of the entire work unfolds, a montage that, far from merely unsettling, plunges headfirst into the truly macabre. What we witness is not simply a visual glitch or a casual flaw in the animated code. It is a grotesque parade of horrors born directly from the glitch, aberrations that are no longer cartoons or mere graphical distortions, but living creatures, monsters that breathe, move, and hunt, created out of characters who were once innocent icons of animation. Each image is fleeting, almost like a flash, yet enough to leave a scar on memory. And among all these visions, one stands out with the force of a nightmare. One of the members of the Jetsons, that futuristic family who once embodied the cheerful hope of the space age, appears transformed into a colossal arachnid aberration. Its limbs are long, rigid, and unnatural, made almost entirely from the dark, distorted matter that makes up the glitch. The familiarity of the original character becomes unrecognizable. Its once comical, cartoonish face now twisted into a deformed mask, held together by strands of black static. with awkward, disproportionate, yet relentless movements. The creature hurls itself after Pibby, dragging her into a gloomy forest. This place does not seem to belong to the original world. It feels as though the anomaly has torn apart the very borders of reality and spawned a new setting, an extension of its shadowy domain, where logic no longer exists. After that visual shock, the short propels us into a preparation montage, a classic sequence in audiovisual storytelling, the arming up moment before the final battle. Pibby and the few survivors still by her side gather strength, makeshift weapons, and above all, courage to face the monster that has consumed everything. The music shifts, the shots suggest epic grandeur, and for a moment it seems as though hope might be possible. But that illusion doesn't last long. Horror returns with greater intensity when Box Bonnie enters the scene. But he is no longer the same. What we see now is an unrecognizable figure, his entire body deformed and corroded down to the bone by the infection of the glitch. What was once a comical and endearing ally has become a marionette of distorted flesh, a brutal reminder that no one is safe. And then comes the cruelest blow. Bombin, that white rabbit introduced at the beginning of the short as Pibby's best friend, her inseparable companion, resurfaces from the depths of the anomaly. But what emerges is not Bombin. What crawls out of the static is an enormous, monstrous version, a dark parody of the character. His entire body is consumed by distortion. His gaze shines with the hollow light of a specter, and his movements no longer evoke tenderness but menace. This creature was never meant to be rescued or to stir compassion. It exists for a single purpose: to torment Pibby with the memory of what once was, to use love itself as a psychological weapon against her. And yet, even in the face of absolute despair, Pibby does not surrender. On the contrary, she steps forward. The few eyes she still has, mutilated by the corruption of this universe, burn with a mix of fear and determination. The childlike character, who once sang about the beauty of learning, now transforms into an improvised warrior, ready to challenge head-on the entity that has destroyed everything. The trailer closes with a disconcerting and sinister twist. Pibby and Bombin, consumed by the glitch, break the fourth wall. Their gazes lock directly onto the viewer. Their faces stretch into unnatural smiles, too wide, too forced, and with a tone of macabre sweetness, they extend an invitation that chills the blood. They ask if we want to come and play with them. It is the final shock, the culmination of an atmosphere of horror that lingers in the air, like an echo that never fades. The story is cut off at this point of maximum tension, as though the anomaly itself had leaked into our own reality. Now then, this is where theory begins, an analysis born from the clues the short film scatters like breadcrumbs in a sinister forest. From the outset, it becomes clear that the glitch is not an accidental technical error. It is not a malfunction in the conventional sense. It is a tangible force, a destructive entity that not only consumes what it touches, but also corrupts it, rewrites it, twists it until it becomes unrecognizable. The truly terrifying part is that no victim actually disappears. Each one becomes part of its army. The devoured characters return as extensions of its will, living puppets acting as prolongations of this dark mind. And the most unsettling part, its range of action is not limited to a single world. Everything points to its hunting ground being television itself. Cartoons, shows, movies broadcast on TV, even commercials. Nothing escapes its reach. The suggestion that even Superman could fall victim to the glitch is a brutal message. Here, there are no gods or saviors. Corruption is universal. A crucial detail seems to be implied. The glitch primarily infects shows that have ended, been canceled, or rebooted. That is its doorway in. Programs that remain on air seem to have a natural shield, Live broadcasting works like a protective barrier. In some way, being alive on the TV schedule is the only thing keeping characters safe. This opens up a fascinating concept. Characters like Pibby the Catwoman or the assistant hero survive because their series were pulled off the air just before being devoured. They themselves are unaware of this, but their very existence is directly tied to the decisions of their creators. This raises a chilling question. What if the authors themselves unknowingly hold the power to save or condemn their characters to the glitch? Here is my personal hypothesis. The glitch is the dark version of a concept already explored in the amazing world of Gumball, specifically the void. That space was meant to erase mistakes in reality, eliminating them in a neutral and definitive way. But if the void was a mechanism of correction, the glitch is its cursed counterpart. Not an automatic function, but a conscious, hostile creature. It does not erase out of necessity, it devours out of pleasure. It does not remove painlessly. It delights in twisting, corrupting, and contorting its victims until they become unrecognizable monsters. Following this line, I argue that its origin could lie in the very excess of animated material produced by Cartoon Network and other channels over decades. All those canceled shows, forgotten characters, discarded episodes, piling up like a cosmic junkyard. A critical mass of forgotten TV memories that, after accumulating for so long, finally achieved consciousness and manifested as the glitch. Its advance is relentless because it doesn't merely seek to erase what it touches. It prefers to reuse it, deforming bodies, distorting voices, cloaking victims in static, and using them as soldiers in its army. The true power of the glitch does not lie in destruction, but in perversion, in taking what is familiar and making it unrecognizable, twisting it until it becomes a monster reflecting what we once loved. The definitive example is Bombin. The glitch doesn't rescue or erase him. It turns him into a psychological weapon. It uses him as a cruel reminder of the past, as a personal specter designed to break Pibby's will. This act reveals that the glitch is not merely a cosmic plague. It is an intelligent, calculating predator that feeds on both worlds and emotions. In conclusion, the glitch cannot be understood as a simple bug or accidental error. It is a conscious predator, a parasite of television memory, born from excess, neglect, and oblivion. A cruel and merciless force that not only devours, but takes pleasure in corruption. And perhaps the most disturbing part of all is that, by breaking the fourth wall and looking directly at us, it leaves behind an implicit message. We, as viewers, are not safe either.